And a 1, 2, 3, and welcome back. I'm back. You're back, I hope. Oh, wait for the guy to come across the show. Is that it? Are we there? You know when oh, here it comes. Oh, I got it muted. Comes. Just so you can hear me. Oh, I got it muted. There it is. Okay. All right. So we're going out like a stupid check. Just watch yourself on YouTube. Makes it all better. Makes it all better. So how is everybody this evening? Pretty good, I hope. And it is what? Thursday night. Minutes with Milo show. Your Thursday's my Friday. I'm happy to say I am off for the next 3 days, and I am not, I repeat, I am not on call. So, that part's good. I hope you're having a good evening. I hope you're going to have a good tomorrow. I hope you have a good weekend. I don't think it's supposed to rain. It looked like it was going to rain out there. I hope not, because I've got furniture sitting in my yard. Why do I have furniture sitting in my yard? Because I got my porch tore up. And why do I have my porch tore up? Dude, it's a long story. Anywho, hopefully I'll get it fixed by tomorrow. Get a sidewalk. Things will be a-okay. All right. So, welcome to the Minutes of Milo show. If you've never been here before, I don't know how you got here, but thanks for coming. Like, subscribe to the channel. Look at my other videos. Look at my live streams that are now videos, and they're retained forever in perpetuity. Well, that sounds like I think that's a legal term. That means forever and ever and ever. But anyway, tonight's show, through multimedia, I don't know which one of those media multis I was watching or looking at. It showed me a study that happened a long time ago with those little creatures called field mice. I don't know why they didn't use the little creatures called, lab rats. Anyway. And the dude did some stuff, and I thought it was pretty interesting just because in my mind it kind of relates to where we are and things might be going. I think that was probably part of the study. Purpose of it was to show, hey, if mice are our closest, you test all kinds of drugs on mice. We test psychological stuff, we test physical stuff, we test, both combinations on mice. So, is that just because, biologically they're like us? They don't think like us potentially. I know they don't. So why would this be important? I don't know. I thought it was interesting. Maybe it's not important. But we'll look at it. And it is called the Universe 25 Study. Now, do I know why they named it that? I do not. Will we figure it out tonight? Probably not. But will we learn something? Well, yes. We've already learned something. We have learned that there was a study involving mice called the Universe 25 Study, and it potentially has some bearing on us as humans. There. Now, I don't want you to, but you can click the button and go on to watch something interesting, or you can stick around and then kick yourself in the butt later when you think, man, I thought that dude was really going to get to something interesting. And so, maybe I will, maybe I won't. It's your personal opinion. I think I'll like it. That's my opinion. What do you think of my hair tonight? What do you think? Is it as loose and limp as ever? I think it is. How about the beard? Is the beard as full and limp as ever? believe it is. So we're on track to be status quo. So let's get to because of the porch, I have got to be off here when the wifey poo gets home. Because we've got to go out there in the dark and look at this porch and come up with a plan because some dudes are coming tomorrow and it'll be done. Let's look at this. Pow, pow. Hello. Shrinking me down to my normal size and zap. All right. So, Grok 3. Really? Who would have guessed? So, for the last two shows, if you haven't noticed, you haven't seen it, I've been using Grok 3, the version 3 of Grok, which is Elon Musk's artificial intelligence. And right now it's free on the internet, and you can go to grok.com and you can pick 2 or the 3 version. The 3 is supposed to be better. I don't know how long it'll last, but I've been using it to do lots of things. It's pretty interesting. So let's look at this. And when I'm going to have it read to us. There's Garthok. Hey man, what's up? So tonight we're talking about mice studies and how they can relate to us humans. And did search, I know you might be shocked, on Grok. I'm going to have it read some of this to us. And then, alas, if you went to my YouTube, and Garthog probably just skipped the picture. Garthog, did you see the picture of the little mouse dressed up like Julius Caesar? Did you see that? I'll wait for your answer. Okay, I'm not waiting anymore. Let's have this read this to us. Now I am using, once again, yeah, you saw that? Was that not awesome? Did I do that myself? No. But I thought of it. And I typed it in, and Grok made that. We'll look at the other one that it made. And I thought it was pretty cool. Why did I pick Julius Caesar? Because in this study, you'll see that certain mice decided they were, I don't know, above the other mice. You know, almost like the elite. And it just came to my mind. That was like Julius Caesar. I mean, you know, they didn't, I don't think they were the leaders or the, you know, I just thought, you know, Julius Caesar seemed like an uppity kind of dude in the movies I've seen. So, never met him personally, but, you know, I'm going to pass judgment on him. I think he was an uppity dude. So let's see what Grok 3 has to say. Let's try that again.
Universal 25 study. 25 web pages. I assume you meant Universe 25 study. Universe 25 was a series of experiments conducted by ethologist John V. Calhoun starting in the 1950s, with the most famous iteration running from 1968 to 1972.
All right. So he started this study in 1950s. Okay, good. But the best one ran from 68 to 72, so 4 years. This was it getting federal money? All right. So during this whole thing, I want you to think in the back of your mind, who is paying for all this? Maybe it'll tell us. Maybe it was the university. Maybe it was the government. Maybe it was some kind of, you know, Mickey Mouse operation. Anyway, let's continue.
From 1968 to 1972, It explored the effects of overpopulation and resource abundance on mouse behavior, often interpreted as a metaphor for human societal collapse. Calhoun created a mouse utopia, a 9-square-foot enclosure with unlimited food, water, nesting materials, and no predators. The habitat was designed to support up to 3,840 mice comfortably. He began with 4 breeding pairs.
All right, so I'll stop it there for a second. We'll look at pictures. And, when you think about a mouse utopia, you kind of conjure up a picture of in your mind. Buddy, this thing is nothing like the picture I conjured up in my mind. Yeah, they may have ultimate or unlimited nesting materials, but it's pretty sparse, laboratorial. Is that a word? We'll look at pictures of it. All right. Shall we continue? Yes, let's.
Pairs, and the population initially grew rapidly, doubling every 55 days. By day 315, it peaked at 2,200 mice. However, despite the abundance, social breakdown ensued, a phenomenon Calhoun termed behavioral sink. As crowding increased, mice exhibited abnormal behaviors. Aggression spiked, with dominant males fighting over territory, females neglected or attacked their young, and many mice withdrew entirely, becoming solitary, beautiful ones who only ate, slept, and groomed, avoiding social interaction.
So that right there is where I got the idea for the mouse Caesar. It is what it is. I thought of it.
Interaction. Reproduction plummeted, and by day 600, births nearly stopped. The last live birth occurred around day 920, and by 1972, the population had died out completely, even though resources remained plentiful. Calhoun linked this collapse to the loss of social roles and purpose in an overcrowded, unstructured environment. He suggested it mirrored potential risks for human societies facing overpopulation or excessive comfort without challenge. Critics argue the analogy to humans is limited. Mice lack complex culture or adaptability, but the study remains a striking cautionary tale about density, stress, and social cohesion. Does this align with what you are curious about, or?
All right. So, in my mind, looking or finding this study and looking it over, this is what I take away from it. Yeah, we're different from mice. We can adapt and we can overcome, we can rationalize, we can figure things out. But it still, to me, boils down to if you don't have a struggle, whether it's a little struggle or a lot of struggle, if somebody just gives you everything that you don't want for anything, you can, mate, you can have a home, you can eat, you can drink, you can sleep, you can do whatever you want, whenever you want, and there's no consequences, there's no predators, there's nothing to stop you. Crap breaks down. That is not the way, mice are, obviously, that's not the way mice are made. I don't think that's the way, humans are made. So that's what I took away from this. If you give everybody everything they want, they don't have to want for anything, they just fall apart. It is not productive, you know. So I think that is the takeaway for me on the study, and I think that's why people kind of allude to the fact that it's, societal breakdown, or what did they call it? Uh, societal collapse. Yeah. So, as we try to do better for our young people, our kids, our grandkids, our great grandkids, we try to give them the better life, give them the things we didn't have. Then eventually what happens is, the crap just goes to pot. That's what I think. So let's look at these two pictures. So I asked it to draw a mouse in Caesar fashion. Now, this is the one I picked. Look at him. Look at him. Ain't he special? He's so cute. All right. So this is the other one. Oh, yeah. He's kind of snooty. Got his nose up in the air. Look at him. He's got his uniform on. He looks like he's getting ready to go to battle. But I can't shrink these things, can I? It's too big for the picture screen. But look, I mean, if you look at the detail, it's pretty daggone awesome, I have to say. So, all right. So then I asked Grok, I almost said Garthok, does the study predict the collapse of the human race? And let's see what it says, what she says. I'm going to call it a she.
Or did you have a specific angle in mind?
Oh, quit it. I want you to start down here. Here we go.
The Universe 25 study by John B. Calhoun doesn't directly predict the collapse of the human race, but it raises thought-provoking questions about the potential consequences of overpopulation, resource abundance, and social dysfunction in a confined environment. Let's break this down to see how it might, or might not, apply to humans. What Universe 25 showed. In Universe 25, Calhoun created a utopia for mice with unlimited food, water, and shelter.
All right, so let's look at some of these images on Universe 25. Okay, so these are real pictures. So you can see, they had water. I'm sure they had, this is like their feeding stations and things like that. But see, it's in an open pit. See how it's just open in this octagon shape. That's a fake picture. That's a fake picture. I don't know what that is. Okay, here we go. I don't know what everything is in here, but you can see the mice along the walls. I don't know. You see them on the floor. You see the water bottles. I just don't. I mean, I can understand this. You can see it all, but there was no little. I would think give them mouse houses, because mice always build a nest in some kind of box or some kind of enclosure so that they're not out in the open, you know, accessible to prey. So did he make, I don't know, maybe this over here? Do you see? Well, jeez almighty, Pete. Maybe these, do you see this where they're looks like a little mouse heads are sticking out? Everything looks like it's chain link or fence covered so they can climb the walls. Well, somehow they had to, well, see, this mouse is up here where the drinking. I wonder how many escaped. I mean, there's no cover over it, right? Yeah, a dash of 74 Chevrolet. Yeah, I don't see that in there. Where were they? I think maybe in these little holes. Maybe that's where they were building their nests. I don't know. Let's keep going. Wow, well, that's kind of different with all that stuff in there. See, it doesn't show that here. What's that? Huh. See, it just shows this. Look at all those mice, man. I wouldn't get down there with those things. Even though they might not like bite you, they crawl up your leg and all kinds of stuff. No, thank you. So I don't understand how it was set up. Seems like maybe if it were better and more, I won't say better, but more mouse friendly. Give me a house, man. Give me with a deck. Give me some sunlight. I don't know. Let's see what it says. Let's keep going.
Shelter, but the population collapsed despite these ideal conditions. The key factors leading to the collapse were overcrowding. As the population grew, space became limited, leading to increased stress and competition. Social breakdown. Normal social behaviors eroded, aggression increased, parenting failed, and many mice became withdrawn or hyper-focused on superficial activities like grooming. Reproductive decline. Eventually, the mice stopped reproducing, leading to extinction. Calhoun coined the term behavioral sink to describe this spiral of dysfunctional behavior triggered by overcrowding. He suggested that the loss of meaningful social roles and purpose in an overcrowded, resource-rich environment was the root cause of the collapse. Applying Universe 25 to humans. Calhoun himself drew parallels to human society, particularly in the context of urbanization and overpopulation. He speculated that humans might face similar risks if population density and social pressures overwhelmed our ability to maintain healthy social structures. Here are some ways the study might relate to humans. Overpopulation and urban density. In 2025, the global population is around 8 billion, with projections to peak at 10.4 billion by the 2080s. According to the UN, urban areas are increasingly dense. Cities like Tokyo, Delhi, and Shanghai house tens of millions. High density can lead to stress, mental health issues, and social friction, as seen in studies on urban living, e.g., higher rates of anxiety and depression in densely populated areas. However, humans have mechanisms to adapt, cultural norms, technology, and governance that mice lack. For example, cities develop infrastructure, laws, and social programs to manage density.
So that might be true. All these things are in place. But still yet, I think what the study was showing was the individual breakdown. Not that, the mice didn't have a place to live, not that the mice didn't have food to eat, not, the mice didn't have water to drink or mates or anything like that. But it showed, as an individual mouse, I think they just lost motivation to do anything. There was no struggle, there was no predators, there was nothing to get up for. So, yeah.
Density. Social dysfunction and isolation. The beautiful ones in Universe 25, mice that withdrew from society, have been compared to modern human phenomena like social isolation, the rise of hikikomori in Japan, people who withdraw from society and live in extreme isolation, or the increasing prevalence of loneliness in developed nations. A 2023 meta-analysis found that 1 in 3 people globally report feeling lonely, a trend exacerbated by technology and urbanization. Social media and digital life might also parallel the behavioral sink, with some arguing that excessive online engagement leads to superficial interactions, reduced empathy, and mental health challenges. Reproductive decline. Universe 25's reproductive collapse has been likened to declining birth rates in many developed countries. For instance, South Korea's fertility rate dropped to 0.78 births per woman in 2022, far below the replacement rate of 2.1. Similar trends are seen in Japan, Italy, and even the US, where the fertility rate was 1.66 in 2023. However, this decline in humans is driven by choice, economic factors, and cultural shifts, e.g., women prioritizing careers, high cost of living, not a biological failure as in Universe 25. Humans can adapt through policy, e.g., family support programs or immigration, unlike mice in a closed system. Resource abundance and lack of purpose.
So it would have been interesting, like what they were talking about. What happens if, when things start getting boring and it's starting to decline, you throw in like, extra 10, 5 females, 5 males, throw an extra 10 strangers in there and see what happens. I mean, would they have sparked new life into the colony, or would they have gotten killed because they were outsiders? Would they have fallen into the same trap?
Purpose. Calhoun suggested that the lack of struggle in Universe 25 removed the mice's sense of purpose, leading to apathy. Some draw parallels to modern human societies where automation, wealth, and convenience might reduce the need for traditional roles, potentially leading to existential crises or a crisis of meaning. Philosophers like Viktor Frankl have long argued that humans need purpose to thrive, and studies, e.g., a 2019 Lancet study on mental health, link lack of purpose to higher rates of depression. On the flip side, humans create meaning through art, innovation, and relationships in ways mice cannot. Technological advancements like AI, renewable energy, and space exploration could provide new frontiers for purpose.
I don't know. I think it's a very interesting study. And it says here, could it predict collapse? Not directly. It serves as a warning. If humans ignore the psychological and social impacts of density, inequity, or loss of purpose, we could face crisis, mental health epidemics, social unrest, and demographic challenges. However, a total collapse like in Universe 25 seems unlikely due to our ability to adapt. Well, what about our ability to kill each other? Our ability to war has improved, and it wouldn't take much, as everybody knows, to really wipe out a bunch of us and almost reset the ticker. But I think there was a video. All right, let's see. This is the top one. This was June 20th, 2022 for filscience.com. Let's watch a video, kids. Oh, come on, man. Thought I was going to watch a video. Why do you do that to me? All right, let's try this one. Natural defense development.
What does life in paradise conditions lead to? Ethologist John Calhoun attempted to answer this question. More than half a century ago, the most famous experiment of American ethologist John Calhoun was conducted on mice. It was called Universe 25. The essence of the experiment was to create ideal conditions where mice could live and reproduce without any worries, away from predators and in the absence of epidemics and diseases. For this purpose, the scientists built a special enclosure in the laboratory at the National Institute of Mental Health. 4 pairs of white mice, males and females, were placed there. The mice had access to clean water and abundant food, special nests where they could make their homes. There were enough nests in the enclosure for several thousand mice to live. The temperature in the enclosure averaged around 20 degrees Celsius and was comfortable for the mice. The animals were not subjected to any external influences and lived in ideal conditions for their pleasure. And then the most interesting part began. In the first stage of the experiment, the mice reproduced well, led an active lifestyle, and played willingly. In the next phase of the experiment, the mice started eating less. They no longer overate. In the third phase of the experiment, when there were already hundreds of mice in the enclosure, a distribution of social roles occurred, a pronounced hierarchy and clan behavior emerged. The so-called outcasts appeared, young individuals that were driven to the center of the enclosure by other adult mice, preventing them from living a normal life and causing them physical harm. In nature, this would probably be impossible, because these aggressive mice would not survive to old age as predators would eat them. However, there were no predators in Calhoun's enclosure, and the adult mice began to simply torment the young. Two large groups formed, solitary males and solitary females. The solitary females refused to mate and rejected the courtship of the males. The mice began to exhibit total individualism, and they did not strive to create families. In the final fourth stage, the mouse population began to decline. Beautiful males emerged, as Calhoun himself called them. They spent their days grooming themselves, eating and sleeping, ignoring the females. However, their interest in each other could not lead to offspring. Various forms of deviant behavior and outbreaks of aggression began to appear among the mice. The females started killing their offspring and eventually completely refused to reproduce. At the peak of the experiment, slightly over 2,000 mice lived in the enclosure. There was enough food and nests for the population to continue growing, but 4 years after the start of the experiment, Calhoun stopped it because there were only slightly over 100 mice left in the enclosure, and all of them were already beyond reproductive age. Some argue that Calhoun's experiment showed that progress and population growth are only possible under conditions that necessitate survival and competition, while in paradise conditions, the species starts to degrade and die out. Based on the results of the experiment, Calhoun concluded that reaching a certain population density and the fulfillment of social roles in the population leads to the breakdown of society due to the emergence of a stratum of outcasts. Mice are forced to compete with older males, and the society experiences the death of the spirit. The experiment has been subject to criticism, including the argument that the founders of the population were related mice, which became one of the reasons for degeneration. But regardless of this, it can make us reflect on our way of life and the challenges that are necessary for us to grow and move forward. What are your thoughts on this experiment?
So, that's interesting. Why would you use, it said there at the end that they potentially related mice? Seems like you would get 4 pairs, from across the country. I mean, you know what I mean? So there's no, DNA link. And I'm not saying that would change anything. It just seems like maybe it's too tough. I don't know. You're going to run this experiment for 4 years, and you're going to use mice that you got out of a laboratory, and they're all, 4th and 5th, 6th cousins. That just doesn't seem, what you should do. You should go out and, let's catch some field mice. Why the little white laboratory rats? Let's go out and catch, 8 field mice and throw them in there and be done with it. No, it shuddered a little bit, huh? I don't know. Well, it wasn't all the way through or just part of the way through. So everybody wants to do those, the white mice and all that thing. Seems fine now. Okay, cool. I don't know. Maybe ease of acquisition? I don't know. But, all right, so it's 33 minutes. Holding pretty tight to the timeline because the little lady will be home this evening pretty soon. White mice taste better? They taste more like powdered sugar? Maybe the field mice taste more like, I don't know, wheat thins or something. Maybe cinnamon? I don't know. Yeah, I think white mice taste like powdered sugar. That's probably the way it is. Ever watch the show V? Nope. I think back in the day, I watched the movie or part of the movie Ben, and that's where the kid somehow befriends a mouse or mices or ratsies, and then those ratsies befriend all the sewer rats, and he becomes all powerful. You ever watch the show V? They eat a lot of mice. Nope. Are you watching Survivor this time? I may have asked you that before, but yeah. But I've never seen V. Well, take on a little nap. So, just to kind of a sidetrack on Survivor, I didn't understand last night's vote. Survivor meh this season. What's meh? Meh this season. I didn't understand last night's vote. Why didn't they get rid of that one girl, Say? I thought they were going to get rid of Say. They should have got rid of Say because, man, she's got a chip on her shoulder about certain things or certain people. They're a little strange this time. Well, I don't know. They're trying, I think, the reason they may be a little strange this time, I think they're trying to get away from the same demographics. Is that the right word? So, they've got a person that has a pretty heavy speech impediment, and then they've got a girl that's high functioning autism. Star, I don't know what her story is. I told my wife, I said, it says she's a salesperson, but the only thing I could see that she could sell would be heaters to Eskimos, man. I don't see it. I just don't see her relating to somebody and selling them anything, really. I really don't. And they got a couple of firemen on there. I'm really surprised that the guy that is the debate coach or teacher, he's not more debateful. You know what I mean? It seems like if you were a person that taught debate, the only thing you would ever want to do would be, well, let me give you the counterpoint. Well, what do you think about this? No, I don't think that's right. I think you should look at it like this. What do you think about my side of the story? It just seems like that would be, a thing that would be ingrained in somebody that teaches debate. I don't know. Anyway, Say is the obvious choice, easier to blindside others. Yeah, I mean, they've had a couple. This one I think was their perfect opportunity. I don't understand why they voted out that Chastity girl. I mean, yeah, she's running around putting plans in everybody's head, but she doesn't. I don't know. Maybe it's the way it's edited. I always say that. They edited it, to lead you in a certain way. I don't know. It's the name of the game. It's profitable. It's been around, I don't know, 40 some seasons? 48? Is this 49? I don't know. But anyway, all right. So I'm going to jump off here because she's going to be home anytime. We got to go out here and look at this porch. Man, get an idea. The dudes are going to be here tomorrow to work on it and pour the concrete. And I've got to come up with some kind of answer for this, how level you want it, all this water runoff. And all that crap. All right. Yeah, always about the way it's edited. Yep, kind of leads you down this one path, and bam, they get you. Then they get you. All right. Robert, thanks for coming. Garthog, thanks for coming. Anybody else that's watched it, like, subscribe to the channel, leave me a comment. The number's on the screen. There it is. I wish I could think backwards. I can't even. I try to fix my hair before I get on, and I can't looking in the camera. I can't even. I got a sore spot right here where I got hit in the head with the Eiffel Tower. Wow, it hurt the other day. It's hammer drilling into a bathroom wall, and the Eiffel Tower came down and pow, right in the head. It hurts. I know you feel sorry for me. I know. Send me a get well card. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you later. Next week, maybe. Yeah. Well, let's just set a date. Let's say next week, same day, Thursday, 9 o'clock. Let's just do 9 o'clock next Thursday. All right, everybody. Everybody being two, and anybody else that happens to stumble along this, thank you very much. Come on back next Thursday. Look for some videos. Ciao. Later, dudes.